This is Casual Babble. Hello, you beautiful individual. Welcome back to the show. This is BC Babbles, and you're enjoying the latest episode of Casual Babble, the delve into the entrepreneurial lifestyle and culture. Now, I've got quite the special guest today who promises to make this particular episode unique, to say the least. That person is...
me, Drake Jens. What's going on, everybody? It is delightful to be with you here today. This is another episode of Casual Babbles with the one, the only, BC Babble. And I am the special guest, Drake Jens, the CEO and owner of FinTeam Business Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited for today's episode, and let's dive right into it.
I was going to say, that was really strong, and then you chose the wrong sound effect for that.
I did.
So welcome, Drake Jens, to the, if I can find it correctly, there we go. Welcome, Drake Jens, to the show. Thank you for joining me on a Friday. Someone was a tad late for a Friday. Someone was a tad late for the Friday, but it's okay. I forgive him.
Business meetings this morning.
He is. This is the only. You're 23 still, right? 24 now.
24.
24 now. You hit the big T4. And this dude has already been through his first freaking acquisition, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yo, it's freaking Friday.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Friday. It's fry cold. It's frio outside.
El tiempo hace more frio. That's for certain.
It's so cold. And my house has no heat. We learned that the hard way 2 nights ago. I think that's more appropriate. But yeah, no, we found that out the hard way. We were like, woke up. And I'm the kind of person who will have a fan on him even in the winter because I have got like plush blankets. It's always comfy.
Same way.
But I woke up and I'm like, damn, yo, it's like cold. It's like even these 2 plush blankets aren't quite doing it kind of cold. So walked around the hallway, looked at the thermostat. It's 58 degrees in the house.
Oh,
I was like, oh no, this doesn't work for 2 Chihuahuas and a Labrador. We probably need to figure out how to fix this. So my brother and I started trying to mess with the thermostat's, what's called like a igniter or whatever it is, not working. It's not taking. So no heat in the house. We had to make use of, I don't know why we have this like old, like, what are they used to be called? Things that sat against the walls in like the 70s.
Like a space heater?
Not a space heater. They were called like a, not a boiler, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like the
fireplace?
No, not a fireplace. It's like the metal contraption with like the bars on it. Oh my God.
Like is it a boiler?
Yeah, kind of like a boiler. But yeah, we have like this boiler vintage style room heater.
Boiler furnace?
It's, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So thankfully we for whatever reason have one of these old timey style things. So I've used that to keep warm. But yeah, it's been fun the past 2 days with it being, we got quite the cold snap for Halloween, and it's sticking around so far.
What did you dress up for Halloween as?
I did not, because I've been so focused on everything else. I had nothing, absolutely nothing. So I had to make, and plus here's the thing, here's the hard truth of it all. My neighbors don't care for me for Halloween. I'm not the one that they come looking for. It's my younger brother who dresses up as Michael Myers that the neighborhood comes for. And let me tell you how bad this is, okay? I have people, first of all, when he wasn't there last year, because he had moved out, finally, all anyone asked for, all the kids, we're talking like little kids, asking for, where's Michael Myers? I said, he's not here, he don't care.
You don't care no more.
And then this year, we're finally getting a pool put in the house. And I had some random dude I've never met before come pick up pavers that we used to have for our backyard fireplace or fire pit. And as we're loading these into his F-150, he's like, yo, is this the house with Michael Myers in it? And here's the kicker. He doesn't live in the neighborhood. He does not. His father and mother-in-law live in the neighborhood. They bring their kids to his in-laws' house on Halloween.
Yeah.
That's how he knows. So I'm like, obviously they don't care.
Yeah.
My brother was there this year, so they got their funds out of that.
Nice.
But yeah, yo, I am a little flabbergasted this morning too, because I 100% charged both camera batteries for for today because it's like, hell yeah, Drake Jen's going to be in here. It's going to be a good show. Got to make sure my camera's got the juice. And then I plug it in before you get here, 55%. What's that about? I just wish my simple ask to the universe is, can you be a bit more timely on technology's untimely ineptitude?
I hear that. This
Work with us a bit
casual
better.
babble is going to have to be more casual and more babble.
It's more scheduled, please. I would like an itinerary for these kind of mishaps, but
Fair,
we're
fair.
smooth anyway. We're good. We're good to go. So Drake Jen's probably the most accomplished 24-year-old outside of any kind of TikToker influencer I've ever met, because this dude is doing the shebang up here in the Queen City. Now you're still a recent transplant to the market because you were
Year and a half here.
Year and a half, yeah. You and I bumped into each other randomly in May for Charlotte Innovation Week.
Yes.
But yeah, you were still kind of feeling around a little bit. Not to make that sound weird.
No, I was here for about a couple months.
Yeah.
At that point in time.
So now you're fully kind of nested, got your spots, and you've been doing the damn thing.
We're doing it. We're going for it. We're doing it.
Is that an overstatement?
Yeah, I mean, we're going for it from a professional side of things, personal side of things, getting plugged into the community.
Yeah.
Getting plugged in with friends, people, organizations, as well as from a professional side, getting to know who's who, how I can best support this Charlotte ecosystem, entrepreneurs in the space, business owners in the space, as well as kind of who does what, who can I partner with, who can I provide resources to. So there's all these different types of things where I'm still getting plugged in. It's a never-ending thing because Charlotte people come in, come out. But it's really understanding the ecosystem, who's who, and how I can best support them right now.
Right. And for us, we got another big thing coming up. We got Global Entrepreneurship Week in 2 weeks, I think it is now.
Soon.
Ooh, for very soon. The marketing for that's been fun.
Yeah.
Marketing for that's been fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Do you want to hype up any specific events that are going to be going on during that week?
Honestly, I couldn't pick right now. They all look so interesting. Granted, a lot of them are still kind of pretty far out my field, but just like the scope of it has me very excited. And I'm hoping I can kind of cancel all my other meetings that I would typically have that week so I can just go to events and call that work. We'll work on that.
I love meeting with people, man. It's fun. Add it on top of it. Double down. Really, double down on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this man, brand new to Charlotte, we had the, what was it called? Talent Jam back in May. This dude had no problems getting up there and presenting himself to the world, to the market. Fun time. And you made the final cut of the recap video that I made for that event.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a plus for you, man. Now all of LinkedIn has seen you.
We're on LinkedIn. Yeah, that I'll attribute that to my mama. You know what I mean?
Mama.
Impromptu speech classes, all these different types of stuff. So I was never that guy, but in high school I quickly became that guy just because of classes and doing public speaking at church, youth group. I was the MC, so the hype master. So I've learned to love public speaking. I enjoy it. I appreciate it. And it's really a great opportunity to talk to people about what's on your mind. And we had that the Hygge Zero Day the other day. So going up there and just kind of improv 10 minutes, talk about whatever you want. Stuff like that is really fun because you can talk about what's on my mind, what's on my heart, and share that in a concise manner to other people. Because sometimes it's scattered, it's all over the place. So it's really a great opportunity to take what's on my mind, what's on my heart, what I'm thinking about, condense it into a digestible format, and then share it with people and let them think about similar things that I'm thinking about. So
what are the typical things you like to think about? What are the topics that ruminate in the Drake Jen's mindscape on the day-to-day?
Yeah, I constantly have to think about money. I'm a fractional CFO, right? So I constantly have to think about money, cash flow, dollar cents. I'm thinking about that all the time.
Yeah.
But really, it's what drives those types of things, and there are a lot of things. And most typically, it looks like people, right? Outside of my typical day-to-day work, it's how do I love and care and respect and honor people, my clients, their employees, and my employees. I think about that regularly, man, because I think it makes a huge difference. I think it matters a lot, and that's similar to what I shared in the 0 Day. I think that is a competitive advantage. How you care for your people, how you love them, how you serve them is a competitive advantage in your business. And I really believe that. So I think about ways constantly. How can I do that with my employees, with my clients, their employees, and I think about how I can do that with my friends too.
Yeah.
How can I, like, if you need help moving, like let me serve you in that way. Just because it takes the focus off of me, it takes the focus off the dollars and the cents. Because I think really focusing just on that is it's not super fun all the time, right? It's great. I love thinking about those things.
Yeah.
But thinking about it all the time is just I think it's a lot for anybody, because then your mind is focused just on that, and like where your treasure is, right? There your heart will be also. So if you're just focused on the money, you're gonna put all your efforts, all your time into more of that. And really, like, is that what matters at the end of the day? Yes, it matters a lot. But there's so much else that flows into that. There's so much else that influences that. And I think people are one of the top things. So I think about that, business, a lot of other things, including investing, reading, cooking, working out, exercising. I love baseball. So all those different things flow into it. But that's typically what I'm thinking about regularly.
You've definitely got the whole life as a multifaceted experience thing down pat. And I appreciate that very heavily.
There's a lot that's going on.
There's a lot that's going on.
There's a lot that's going on. Yeah.
Yo. Well, talk about, so you're the finance guy. You're my at this point in history, I have deemed you my finance guy.
I mean, finance. Yeah.
Finance guy.
I like to put the fun in finance.
You like to finesse that particular saying a lot too, is what I'm getting the notion of.
I just wanted to do that. That was so fun.
That was the sole purpose. Okay. But yeah, you as my finance guy, I gotta know. So when you're kind of growing up in this age where everyone is kind of at the mindset of like a quick money grab, what's the quickest means of satisfaction? And granted, sometimes it's for purely materialistic purposes. Other times it is for people who just don't know how else to make money, whatever it is. But how do you, growing up in this particular day and age, find yourself drawn towards the realm of finance as more of a business management, methodically approaching that realm?
It's very hard. Let me set the stage too a little bit.
Please do. We like a good setup.
For so many young people, right? We'll just say 30 or younger. There's so many get-rich-quick schemes. There's so much with investing, trading, just timing the market, and really just short-term, like day trading. And I think a huge reason that is many young people are used to instant gratification. And that's not just oh my gosh, young people do this, that, and the other thing. That's how the environment they're in breeded them to be.
Right.
With immediate likes, immediate comments. Now with you invest, usually you had to wait a couple days for things to close or things to execute. You call your broker, you're like, hey, put in this trade. Then you get confirmation a day or two later. And now on Robinhood or any other thing,
right,
you place the trade, it's almost immediately filled as long as you do certain orders. So now there is all these environments that are pushing towards do it now. It's immediate response, immediate feedback. And I think that's a huge reason people are focused on the right now, immediate stuff. And I don't think it's young people. I think it flows through the entire economy and into the entire like cultural ecosystem.
Fair, yeah.
And how that influences us now is things like GameStop, Robinhood. Like people just trade quickly and they're looking for these ways to get rich because they watch their parents and they're working for 50 years to retire. They work the same job. They work 9 to 5 plus on either end. And they don't want to do that, right? And I understand that, which is the reason why investment turnovers increase so much, which is the reason people take out credit card debt now and why credit card debt is rising. And now delinquencies on auto loans and credit cards are increasing, is because people are looking for that short term, I want to buy this car, I want to do this thing. And they're taking out debt and living an unsustainable lifestyle to do it. And frankly, it really is upsetting to me. It's difficult for me to watch because I know that really wealth is built over the long term, finances are built over the long term. And really, if you delay the short term gratification of buying XYZ thing, or investing in XYZ thing. If you delay the gratification of selling a stock after a month, and if you just hold it for 12 months, your tax rate will be way lower. So there are all these forces, right, that are like, do it now, do it quickly, do it. And really now, competitive advantage is just having a longer term mindset.
Right.
Wealth is not built overnight. If you build wealth overnight, what if you, there's a higher probability you lose it overnight just because of the way that you would live in that case. So really it's about the long term. It's about having that longer term time horizon, what matters. And at the end of the day, when you sit down and write your goals, the next 5 months is like huge, but the 5, 10, 15-year plan matter way more. So I'm very focused on that.
Yeah, and it's really quite the dissonance too. That like you think that most of these people who do end up kind of going in when they get the funds available to them, and then they live incredibly, as you said, unsustainably as they do. You'd think that they would remember, like, yo, the reason that you're trying to get this get rich quick scheme is because you know that right now things are not working for kind of the typical working man, right?
Right. Well, what's interesting actually is in 2020, when COVID happened, there was a lot of stimulus in the economy, just both monetary and fiscal stimulus, which is low interest rates. People could buy houses for less. People could buy cars for less. Just money was cheaper, as well as fiscal stimulus, which is people got paychecks. People got extra stuff. Businesses got PPP loans. So there's all this money flowing into the system, and money and capital was really cheaper to get. So there's all this excess cash, and people's savings, the savings rates for the normal U.S. consumer went way up. It spiked to a lot. And now that savings rate is way down. People are spending, they're saving way less because they had all this excess cash from COVID, and they're like, okay, like I'm not going to spend it. And now that things are going on, now that things are happening, they're spending way more, and you have Taylor Swiftonomics, right? Which is just like people are spending crazy money on her tickets for a concert, and it's because they had so much excess cash and savings saved up during COVID, and now they're like, okay, like I had all that excess stuff, I'm gonna spend it now, right? So there's all this, girl math, boy math, whatever.
Recently, there's also dog math.
I don't understand girl math. I don't understand boy math. I don't get it, but I think that's some of the thinking as to why people are okay with spending more now, even when they can't afford it, because it's become very common.
Yeah.
And I think given what happened with COVID and people having so much excess cash, like, I have all this saved up, I'm just going to go ahead and spend, when there's so many economic headwinds influencing them right now. So it's fascinating. It's difficult for me to watch. It's difficult for me to watch companies go under. It's difficult for me to watch delinquencies on credit cards, auto loans increase, and it's difficult for me to watch housing prices start to fall too, and really how expensive it is to buy a house, because I know that impacts my friends, my family, and really most people in the economy. And this is all stuff that was done kind of artificially, just through different programs of the Fed, the government, and I don't get political, right? But that's just how things happen. So the inflation issue, where people can't afford the higher cost of living, is a result of that additional money that was given out during COVID from the Federal Reserve via lower interest rates, as well as paychecks, PPP loans. Those are all inflationary things. So now the fact that we're doing inflation and living costs being higher and increasing at a faster rate than wage costs, that is not a shock to me, given what's been going on in the system. And really, the money that people should have saved should have been gone towards those higher inflationary costs as opposed to going towards living. So some additional thoughts, some additional context there, but yeah.
But we have that dissonance, and so that's not at the forethought at all. It's just, and that's when you really kind of ponder it, it becomes quite the frustrating concept, because these aren't secretive things. These aren't secretive elements that kind of work against people on the day to day. So it's like, yo, why don't you just like save up? Like, because here's what I love to see Tay, sure. What I love to see Queen Bee, sure. Am I gonna drop five figures for it? No. Would it be awesome? Sure. Will I pay that? No.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't save well enough for me to ever be able to afford it, but yeah.
It's I keep thinking about this word in our conversation. I kept thinking about this, but this word contentment, right? Contentment is so difficult. It's so difficult to really wrap your head around, but then it's even more difficult to be okay with, right?
Yeah.
I bought a business. For the first couple of months, all my cash flow was going towards paying off that business.
Yeah.
I had to be okay, and I had to be content with the fact that this is the choice I made, and I'm going to run this with very little overhead, very little living expenses, and I'm going to do what I need to take care of myself. But from there, like, I'm capping myself out. I have to be content with
Yeah.
not, buying the motorcycle I really want or buying the new office chair I
Oh,
want.
Jesus. Drake Jen's on a motorcycle.
How can I be content with that right now?
Yeah.
And I think that contentment piece, that's really the word I want to describe what's going on. There's little contentment right now in the world, and it's very difficult to have contentment because you really have to start with the end in mind. There are all these different catchphrases you could use, but unless you know what you're living for and unless you know what your goals and objectives are, how will you be able to be content with not getting everything you want right now? How can you be content with that? Our parents didn't give us dessert until we ate dinner first. How are we content eating dinner and then having dessert afterwards? It's because we know it's better for us. And not buying a motorcycle right now, I know is better for me because I need to invest in this business. I need to grow this business. I need to hire people, right? I need to do this. I need to invest in automation. I need to invest in AI. I need to invest in these different things. So how can I be content with living on a lower salary, living on a lower income level,
Yeah.
and instead focusing on how I can serve my clients better, how I can focus on growing this business more, and how can I focus on serving my employees well and taking care of them. And this is not a message to say, hey, entrepreneurs out there, pay yourself nothing. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is be content with what you have, focus on growth, invest in it, and see where you want to go, see what your goals are, and focus on that. Because when you do that, when you have your goals in mind, you're working towards those things after a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to make a huge difference, especially if you're able to spend less and invest that in what your goals actually are.
Yeah. Now, how did you come upon this concept of contentment at so young? And I don't mean to say that as though I'm super old, but I'm only 30. But how did you come upon the moment where you realized this was something you needed to teach yourself?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's kind of a it's kind of a not I taught myself. It's something I had to learn. I remember in undergrad, I was a finance guy. I graduated in 2.5 years, and I pushed super hard. My professors, my friends, I pushed super hard in undergrad to learn finance, and I did a lot of investing. And I was always thinking about, I invested my personal funds, and I'm thinking about how I can make more money from investing. And I remember what happened is I was invested in energy stocks. And what happened was it was a double black swan event, which is basically something that never happens. Mm-hmm. There was COVID, and there was the Russia and Saudi Arabia pricing war with oil. And my investments took an absolute L. It went down so much, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I not smart? Am I not competent enough? And it was really because I was so focused on making money that not making money and losing money, even though I didn't sell. And I ended up selling that position for a gain after 2-3 years. That felt like a failure to me. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Why is that case? It was because I was just focused on money. I was focused on making money, right? And there are a lot of things I think about, specifically pertaining to the fact that I've come into this world with nothing. And at the end of the day, I'm probably going to leave it with nothing, right? You can't take your money with you when you
But when you podcast on a budget, that is the one thing I've grown content with, is podcasting on a budget. I'm not fully content, obviously, but I'm there for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's what we do.
It's contentment with what you have right now with a goal or objective in mind as to where you want to be and what you want to have.
A camera that doesn't run hot, that's my objective.
Yeah. That's a good objective. Save
Sponsors
for it.
And cash flow would be great, but for now, I'm down for just a camera that does not overheat after recording for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Save for it. You know what I mean?
But let's hop back into, you were talking about that double black swan event.
Yeah. So that happened. I was like, okay, am I a failure? Do I not get this? What's the deal? And I learned a ton through that event, but really it was during that time where I was like, my professors were talking about it. I'm like, oh, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I didn't see this. But it's not true, because it was still a great investment. It still ended up its cash flows a lot, right? I sold it for a profit, and I have another position in it that I re-entered in that I think is at a profit right now. So it's a learning lesson, and we have those learning lessons throughout time. But it was really my focus on money, and like I was saying, I don't think we leave this world with money in the bank account, right? It doesn't matter what we have at the end of the day. So my goals are financial related, but at the end of the day, in the big picture, I've come into this world with nothing. I'm going to leave it with nothing.
Right.
And if I have food and clothing, my essential my essentials, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
I need to be content with those things. And I think there is a significant gain and a significant benefit to being content. And learning that was extremely difficult for me. And I'm still, it's just not I'm always content. I'm always content. I really want a motorcycle, right? But it's how can every day, at every moment, I'm like, okay, I have this decision to make. How can I be content with that? And it's knowing the goals, knowing that at the end of the day, like it's not going to matter. It's how I can influence and really just how I can serve and love people well. That's what matters at the end of the day. That was a huge learning thing for me. That was a huge growth thing for me. And it was extremely painful. Our best learning opportunities are typically the most painful ones.
Fair.
But
Very
I
true.
learned a lot in that. And it was a struggle ever since then, like running a business, working in banking, like all these different things. It was very difficult because it's all money based. It's all how can I maximize my income based? But
Sure.
I really have to take a different approach. I have to take a different approach, or it goes from being about me, how I can grow my business. And instead of doing that, I want to say, how can I help my clients? How can I serve them? How can I help them reach their goals and help them maximize their cash flow? So at the end of the day, they can achieve their goals, which most frequently look like increasing free cash flow, not having financial peace of mind, and being generous, living generously. So those are my thoughts there, but I could talk a lot about that.
I mean, we probably will. I've got suddenly an idea for a new thing that'll happen momentarily, but so coming into that, and now that you've transitioned to a place where you are serving other people, where you are facilitating this network communities around yourself, getting into your work, your day-to-day work. What are some of the common missteps you see with people when it comes to either how they decide to approach finances, how they decide to try to build a system around it?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. That's tough. I think most of the time, it most frequently looks like putting it on the back burner and putting finances on the back burner. And I've seen a lot of stuff that grinds my gears, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. Just them taking out really bad debt. Like, they don't plan for cash flow. They don't plan for expenses. They don't plan for taxes. So they end up taking significant amounts of debt out at a significant interest rate, sometimes up to 50% via certain debt instruments.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely unacceptable, right? That is so bad. That will kill a business if you have to do that.
Right.
And stuff like that is really, it's just not planning, not looking into your expenses, and not forecasting out. And it's not just like, oh, I have enough cash in the bank now. It's like, I have this amount of cash in the bank right now. What am I going to spend? What am I going to invest in? What does that look like? And how can I plan and prepare for those expenses so that I am not suffering on the back end via taking out terrible debt or via raising equity and giving away like most of my business? How can I prepare and plan for these things strategically so that I can invest, and I can invest based on what I can afford, given my expenses, given what I want to do. So that cash flow management is one of the hardest things in business from a finance perspective. And it's one of the things I see most business owners struggle with, because I spend most of my time on that. Most of my time is spent on that. That's where I can add the most value. And it's extremely difficult to do well, because it takes a lot of Excel. It takes an extreme amount of knowledge into debt and expenses and what your revenue is going to be. And there are a lot of question marks there that you have to spend time figuring out. And I don't think most business owners should spend tens of hours figuring that out, because they need to run their business. They need to generate cash. They need to go do business.
And that's where fractional work comes in.
Yeah, like shameless plug. That's what the point is. That's the point, right? We help with bookkeeping. We'll make sure your books are clean. We're gonna make sure that you're do pricing correctly. We're gonna make sure you have enough people. We're gonna make sure you're paying them fairly. But really, at the end of the day, it's cash flow management. How can we help you make more cash flow and manage it well? Like, that's the goal.
So you're doing this now through you mentioned this earlier, FinTeam Business Consulting.
FinTeam Business Consulting.
How did you come upon that? I know you've told me before, but it's been so long since we've gone over that story.
Yeah.
But how did you happen upon it, and what brought you to the decision of, I'm going to buy this company and take on everything that comes with it?
Yeah, man. So let me think where to start. when I was a freshman, my
Right.
uncle CFA, president at a bank, like love that guy. He's awesome. He's so cool. I'm like, oh, you're so cool, Uncle Tommy. And I was thinking, and I'm like, one day I asked him like, what is your if you had to go back and start your career again, what is your biggest piece of advice? And he was like, I would buy my own company. I'm like, whoa, what type of advice is that? Like nobody's giving me that advice before. You would buy your own company? What? Tell me more about that.
How does that make sense? What?
And yeah, like you would like if I could go back to undergrad, I graduate, buy my own company. Here's the reason why. The reason why is you learn, grow, and develop so much when you buy your own company. Like I have to figure out all this stuff, figure out tax, business structure, like corporate structure, how I'm going to get revenue, how I'm going to manage that revenue, how I get client, like hiring people. You have to manage everything. Everything, you own the business, so you have ownership over every part of the business, which helps you learn, grow, and develop so much. And at the end of the day, yes, we learn through school, classes, whatnot, but some of our greatest learning opportunities are in real-world experiences and just figuring it out. Business is a series of problem-solving events where you have to constantly solve problems, and you learn based on solving those problems. So yeah, I learned a lot from the CFA. Yeah, I learned a lot from undergrad, grad school. But man, I'm learning so much more through running this business. So he gave me that advice as a freshman. Yeah. And ever since then, I'm like, guys, I want to buy my own business.
So
I'm
it's
going to
almost
take out
kind
an
of like
SBA loan. I'm going to buy my own business.
Oh
and I
my
have no idea
goodness.
what that looks like, but I know I want to do it.
So it's almost like college wishes they had a crash course like this experience.
No. Here's the thing. This is not for everybody. This is not for the faint of heart. This is one of the most intense professional things I've done. This is so hard. It's incredibly stressful, and if you let it get to you, it's anxiety inducing.
So thus far, how are you finding the risk reward ratio?
So fun. It's so fun, dude. I was
so
built
fun.
for this. I love throw me in. I want to learn, develop, and grow. I love it. Like if I'm bored, like I had a corporate job. So like I was like, how I want more. I want to learn and grow and develop. I want to be extremely challenged.
Right.
Because in those challenges, I grow the most, I develop the most. And at the end of the day, like those challenge me as a person, right? Who am I? Am I walking in integrity? Am I walking in excellence? How can I do that better?
Right.
So I'm regularly focused on those things, and I love it. So that's the advice he gave me. I reached out to a couple companies, and I said, if I don't get a job at undergrad, I'm going to go ahead and buy a company. I went into grad school, and I said the same thing. I did get a job, but yeah. So how this ended up happening is I worked for FinTeam during COVID.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I'm like 20, 21, and I'm managing a company's finances during COVID. So I'm building like cash flow models. I'm like, oh my gosh, like if your revenue does this, here's how this is going to impact your bottom line. Do you need to get financing? Do you need to get like debt, equity? Do you need to cut expenses? What does that look like? And I was just going crazy on their finances. I'm like 20 years old. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. I love this. So I started doing this work freelance beginning of the year, and I reached back out to the owner, Jamie Reynolds. Shout out, Jamie Reynolds. You're awesome. And I reached back out to him, and he's like, oh, yeah, like I'm getting out of the business. I'm going to go work for my biggest client. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I'm getting into the business. That's interesting. And he's like, well, do you want to like run this business for me? And I'm like, that would be cool, but like I'd rather buy it from you. So he took about a month and a half. Wrote up the docs. I came from banking, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to close this thing, and I'm going to write up all the docs for it. I feel confident in my abilities to do that, structure this well. So we did seller financing and ended up closing in May. So fun. So
new goals: buy a business and then buy a motorcycle.
Yes. Yeah. I like the thing is that this is so stressful. Like the 9-to-5 job or corporate job is for a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the question to ask yourself is, do you want to go through all the like experiences, hardships? Do you want to go through just the trials?
Right.
Are you ready to embrace the punch in the face that you're about to receive by being a small business owner? Are you ready? Like you're literally going to get punched in the face. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for the adversity? Are you ready to be challenged not only as a professional but as a person? Are you ready for that? Because if not, like that's okay. That's all good. And if you are, like I was for years, like send it, go for it. Like there's no greater development experience in business, no greater learning experience than running your own business, buying your own business, running it. And like I don't know everything. I tell my clients, I'm like, I don't know everything. This is what's in my wheelhouse. And I'm going to learn with you. I'm going to grow with you. Yeah. And I'm never going to stop learning. I'm never going to stop growing because I love doing this. So I'm very upfront about that. I am fine with people knowing that. I don't know everything. And the thing is that I think having that humility helps me learn things faster because I know I don't know everything. And that took a lot for me to get to that point. It's very difficult, and I don't always want to have that mentality, but I have to.
Right.
Because it helps me learn and grow more. So I'm going to stop talking now.
One of the things I like to talk about on the show is imposter syndrome.
Nice.
And let me first preface by saying that I never heard the term fractional until this year when I got my first 2 clients. And now I cannot not hear the term fractional something or other.
Right.
And granted, I thought fractional at first was just for like chief officer roles, but apparently it's even just your other managerial roles as well.
Yeah.
So that, and being new to the whole fractional kind of vibe that I feel like is a 2023 creation.
I mean, it's like a fancy term for gig economy.
Fair.
Right?
Very fair. Yes. So as a fractional, coming into work as a fractional CFO at a company that you started working with when you were 20, was there at any point a need to kind of like disabuse yourself of any kind of like CFO? You think of like chief officer positions, it's the high-ranking, super corporate stuff, a whole like, it's like almost like a whole other world. At least that's how I see it sometimes. For you and coming into work with FinTeam and taking on that role, those responsibilities, and growing into fractional CFO work, did you ever have an approach where like you had to bring it down to a relatable level for yourself, or did you always approach it from like a very like fractional chief officers can be anybody kind of thing?
Yeah, that's that. Let me. I think I understand your question.
Good, because I'm not sure I do.
Let me set the stage for all this.
Yeah.
There are these things in economics called economies of scale and scope. Scale is your big company, right?
Right.
If you have one marketing person in the whole company, it makes more sense for that company to have 100 million in revenue versus $1 million in revenue because they're able to do more with the same amount of resources, right?
Right.
So that's scale. Scope is being incredibly focused on one thing and being amazing at it, being the best there is at it.
Right.
And there's some companies that do that extremely well, right? And when I think about the gig economy, when I think about what's going on, this is really economies of scope. It's having a scope or having work that you know you're really good at and that you focus in, you laser in on. And I think so many times employees, they get pulled in so many different directions. They're like, okay, do accounting, do the bookkeeping, do the HR, do marketing, do all these different things. And they're like, okay, but like I'm not good at all that, and I don't really want to do all that. So this is really a way for me to be like, I'm really good at this scope of services. I know I can add a lot of value here. And I know it's not a full-time job across your company, but this is where I can add the most value.
Right.
And you're going to be paying less for it because I'm not going to be doing you probably don't want me doing your marketing. It's going to have a lot of motorcycles, a lot of explosions, some fireworks, and some bald eagles. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to have those things. So this is my way of saying I'm good at these things.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out the specific problems or specific issues because business is just a series of solving problems. But I'm going to focus on this area, okay? That's to set the stage why I think gig economy is so huge and why the fractional space is blowing up because people are good at this set of services. And they want to offer this set of services and they don't want to do your marketing. You shouldn't have them do your marketing. You shouldn't have them do whatever, your onboarding for like new clients. You should have them do your bookkeeping, your tax, your marketing.
Right.
Hire someone that's good in that specializes in that.
Right.
And I think that's why it's blowing up. So your question is, okay, Drake, you're young, you're just figuring this out. You're still pretty new in the fractional CFO space. So like, how do you confront imposter syndrome? Do you ever feel like you need to take a step back and not, I guess, feel like you're out of your depth?
Or question yourself too much? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I constantly question myself. I constantly am asking myself questions. I'm constantly like, how can I figure this out? What does this mean? Like, why? I constantly ask myself why. There's a book called Process.
Yeah.
And it says, and it's an EOS book, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it says, ask how or what, I think. And it says, never ask why. because you need to figure out the problem. It's like, how can I fix this? What do I need to do to address the issue? And it says never ask why.
Right.
And I'm constantly asking why. And the reason I'm constantly asking why, and I just disagree with the book. Sorry, my clients who had me read that. I disagree emphatically because I'm like, why? Why is revenue decreasing? Why are margins contracting? Why is my cash flow budget looking like garbage? Why is this company taking on so much debt? I constantly am asking why, and that helps me figure out a lot of questions. That helps me answer a lot of questions. It identifies the things I don't know, so then I can go out and solve the problem, solve the solution, and I can learn through that process. So imposter syndrome, no, I'm very confident that given an issue, I can understand it, I can wrap my mind around it, and I can find the solution, or I can connect you with someone who does know the solution.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm very confident that I'm going to work extremely hard for your company. I'm very confident that I'm going to do my best and pursue excellence in my work. That is my commitment. I'm not going to say I know everything. I'm not going to say I've figured everything out. But I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to figure it out. And if I can, I'm going to connect you with someone who can. That's why I have confidence. That's why I don't struggle with imposter syndrome. It is daunting many times.
Yeah.
It is sometimes intimidating. I don't get really intimidated or scared very often because I'm very confident in what I'm able to do. And if that's not the right fit, that's fine. Right? I'm okay with that. And I'm not the right fit for every company. That's fine. I have to be okay with that because I don't want to, if it doesn't help the client generate more cash flow, if I'm not going to be able to help them at the end of the day make their business better, we should not be working together. Period. End of question. End of story.
Period.
That's it. I have packages to help them do that, but that's it. So in terms of imposter syndrome, don't really feel like I struggle with that just because I know I don't know everything. I tell my clients I don't know everything. I tell them I'm going to figure out the things I don't know, and if I can't, I'm going to connect with someone who can.
Yeah.
That has to be what it is, because if I say outwardly I know everything, but inwardly I know I don't, and I know I don't know everything, then that's going to hurt my clients.
Right.
That's not good.
Right.
That's not good. So I do understand imposter syndrome. I do understand that a lot. And I think it's so often, it's just because of the mentality we have to have. We have a Instagram, LinkedIn environment where everyone is outwardly successful. Everyone is doing all these really cool things.
Right.
Everyone is achieving all these neat things, and it looks like they know everything. And maybe they do. I hope they do. That'd be awesome. I'm like, do your thing. But they don't. I don't think they do. And I think it's okay to say, look, I don't know this. I don't know this. I don't understand this. Can you repeat it to me? I went to business school. Yeah, I went to undergrad. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. But no, I don't know everything. And I'm fine saying that. I'm fine telling you that. I'm going to figure it out. And really, as long as you're willing to invest the time to figure it out and be humble enough to learn these things, that's my mindset. That has to be my approach. Because I cannot be so prideful that I'm not doing what's in the best interest of my client. I can't be so prideful to say, this is how it's going to be, period, end of story. If there are any, why, this doesn't make sense, then I have to investigate those things regardless of whether I think it's correct or not.
Yeah. It's a very fair response.
Yeah. Is that answering your question?
No, it does that and more. And I think the other
you said no, and I'm like, oh boy, I just talked a lot into the question. So that's good. And more. Okay, great.
No. It definitely did, because it's
all right, enough of that.
the first correct one this entire time.
Yes. Well, I feel like the intro wasn't bad.
The intro was good. It was just kind of those other spattered moments where I'm like, almost.
Give me another shot.
Straight.
Give me another shot. Give you another shot.
Spin
that over here, and I'll do some work.
Right. And so I'm happy to hear that, because I take this quote and I kind of live by it. Oftentimes when we investigate someone's goals, we kind of reveal our own kind of thing.
Interesting.
So when I ask you those questions, it's definitely from a personal perspective, because I see you and I see you got a lot of confidence, you got a lot of gumption, got a lot of fervor, which I find very inspiring. And it's just, and I think part of it is just that, you, from what I've understood, you've had a very kind of direct approach to yourself professionally and what you want to do professionally. I feel that.
Kinda.
Unless I got skewed somewhere.
I mean, it's looked like a lot of different things. But my end goal has always been I want to learn, develop, and grow as much as I can, and I want to help people manage their finances well, have financial peace of mind, and I want to help them live generously. And that looks like a lot of different careers. But to your point, I've always wanted to do finance. I've always wanted to play in spreadsheets. I love that stuff.
Right. Whereas from my more perspective, it's more like I've hopscotched around quite a bit. And this is more of a recent landing zone. But no, just in being super introduced into this fractional sphere this year, it's just kind of like lots of questions pondering, like how many people in our age group who are approaching these fractional chief officer responsibilities, how many of us do experience and or find ways to circumvent echoes of imposter syndrome, either from the perspective of operating ability or from the perspective of reputation, I guess. Kind of like, my thinking is how in earning respect from your industry, your sphere, how many people would immediately kind of disvalue someone between our ages marketing ourselves in fractional chief work when you consider typically those roles are for people in their 40s or at least upper 30s and are kind of in these larger scale corporation kind of positions. And maybe that's just a me problem.
Yeah, I don't care. This is gonna sound hard. I don't care. I do not care about that. I can't care. That sounds harsh. I cannot care what people's expectations are. Oh, you have to be bald. You have to have gray hair. I do not care. It influences things. It influences their perception of things, but I cannot care what their perception of a good CFO is. I'm going to do my best. I know my scope of work. I know I'm good at it. I know that these services I offer, I'm going to crush it for you. This is going to add immense value, and I'm going to help you so much with that.
Yeah.
I don't have 30 years of work experience. I'm not 30 years old. I've been in the finance space since I was in high school. Okay. I don't have all this experience. And BC, I can't let other people's expectation of how much work experience, how old I am, what I look like, I cannot let that influence how I do my job, how I get clients, and how I pursue excellence. I prefer rather to set example for people in my conduct, in my speech, in my work, and how I pursue excellence.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem with how young I am, there's nothing I can do to change their mind.
Right.
There's nothing I'm going to do to change their mind. That's fine with me. I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not the CFO everybody wants. I'm not going to be a yes man. I'm not going to be the guy that comes in with 40 years experience and says, "Well, this is how I've always done it for 30 years." That's not me. That can't be me.
Yeah.
That would be a lie if I say that's me, right?
Right.
That's not what it is. And I say I don't care because if I let everyone else's perception of what a good CFO looks like, I'm never going to get new clients. I'm never going to grow. I'm never going to network. I went to this networking event last week. It was an M&A conference in town. And I did that because some of my clients were going through M&A processes. And I was the youngest person by like 20 years. Did I care? Not really. I keep up with them. I'm learning. I grow a lot. I met some awesome people there. It was fantastic. I'm so glad I went. But people's perception of, oh, you run your own fractional CFO firm. How old are you? Yeah, I'm young. That's okay.
Yeah.
If you want someone with a ton of experience, I'm not your guy. That's okay. If you want someone who's hungry, humble, and ready to go, ready to do all this data analysis and Excel work and use Python and automation, if you want someone who does that, I'm your guy. 100%. I'm going to do that. I'm going to hustle because I'm hungry and I love this work. I'm going to be doing it for a long time, BC. I have no plans on updating my resume. So someday when I am the guy with 30 years of work experience, frankly, it's not going to matter that I have 30 years of work experience because the years of work experience I have has nothing to do with how much value I can add to clients and how I can help them increase cash flow. It has nothing to do with that. It has 100% with my perspective, the insights I have, the data I'm looking at, and really just wisdom, right? I've prayed for wisdom and knowledge, just like Solomon, for years. You know what I mean? And I really I yearn for that, and it matters a lot to me to have both wisdom and knowledge because that helps my client so much. I
Right.
can have best practice, I can have industry standard, but if I don't have that, I don't know how to apply it to my company. So my parents prayed for that for years. I pray for that. You know what I mean? And if there's anything you see, it's because that is not by coincidence. That's because I have prayed for that for years, and I've sought that for years.
Yeah.
Right? Seek wisdom like you would seek a fine jewel. Like diamonds are sick, but I think wisdom has more value, and that's extremely hard to learn. And yeah, I'm don't know everything, and I'm dumb sometimes. But man, I long for that wisdom and knowledge. You know what I mean? Just like King Solomon, what is it like? BC, couple thousand years ago in Israel, he was the richest man ever. Like Queen of Sheba rolled up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like you're loaded,
My dude.
Like he's like my guy, like sheesh, you know what I mean? Like whoa, right. And he's like, I mean, you know what it is, that's so bad. But like for real, like in the Old Testament it says he asked for one thing. He's like, all right. The Lord's like, all right, Solomon, what you want? And he's like, give me wisdom and knowledge. And he's like, the Lord's like, all right, I'm going to do it. And that was crazy for him. That was crazy. So if that happens to me, that's probably not the first thing I'd ask for, but I do ask for that regularly. So
Yeah.
I think it's huge. That was a bit of a tangent, but
A little bit.
some
bit.
interesting perspective.
But I feel like, despite the tangent, it was a very Drake-style tangent. It wasn't, while it was unexpected.
She rode up and was like, shit.
While it was an unexpected turn for the moment, I reflect on it, having it just happen. I'm like, you know what? That tracks for Jake Jens.
Yeah, let's go.
It does track. It does track. It does track. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't make sure we touched on one topic that is inescapable with you as a guest. It's your favorite word.
Synergy.
It's synergy.
Let's go. I love synergy.
I do realize that in the prep notes
just
I sent you, I
use
use
alpha beta sigma grind set to maximize synergies. I'm getting synergized this morning with my boy BC.
Yeah. Wrong one. See, there I go. I do realize it's this one.
Oh yeah.
I do realize that in the prep notes I sent you that use the word symmetry as opposed to synergy. But yes.
That's on me. Yep.
Synergy. Talk about it.
Okay.
What's your obsession with synergy?
It's not an obsession. It's a mindset. It's a grind set. Alpha, beta, sigma, gamma grind set.
You just had to make up a word. It's definitely obsession.
So, I actually have a coffee cup that says synergize, and I actually think I have it with me.
Again, I say obsession.
So synergies in the M&A, it came from M&A, right? It's typically used in the merger and acquisition space when people are buying companies. And the synergies are to reflect two companies coming together and being more valuable together, realizing these economies of scale that we talked about.
Yeah.
Because, you only need one HR department, only one marketing department. If you can cross-sell, there's synergy there. So it's really two things or more coming together and being greater. So I use synergy so much because when two people come together, there should be synergy. Like a podcast with just me, without you, it's fine. But us two together and you by yourself is cool. But like together, it's a much better podcast. And I think that's synergy. And I really think, and this is maybe like my belief in humans and just how awesome people are. I love people. Like working together, you can create something better than you could achieve by your own.
Yeah.
And that's not just because if they did something on their own, if you did something on your own, it's still like the sum of those is great.
Right.
But together, working together, it's so much better. So I use synergy so much because I'm like, we're coming together as people and we're better because we're together. Like, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. You know what I mean? So like two people together, you can create something better. And I use this in my description earlier, but if you take two tectonic plates and they push up against each other, they elevate each other and they create a volcano. And it's elevated, it's higher. It reminds me of Hawaii. Hawaii is just a bunch of tectonic plates realizing synergies. And like some volcanoes that are active, I'm referring to the dormant or extinct ones, right? So if this is, sometimes when two people come together, it does create an active volcano, which can create a hot mess at Pompeii. But
where my parents are right now, by the way.
In Pompeii?
Oh, yeah. They like to visit.
Oh.
Even though it's like massively overdue.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, you better not call me while you're in the middle of like running away because I will hang up on you. Because I done told you before you left this continent, don't do that.
Yeah. So again, like synergies, two people come together to pursue something greater, to do things better.
So would you say that has maybe the greatest impact on how you choose to facilitate your network?
No, it's just a word I use to describe how I do things.
You know what?
I get synergized. When I get synergized, it's two people doing something greater together.
Okay.
So I don't do it because I want to maximize synergy. It's because all this stuff people matter to me. How I can love, respect them, honor them. That all matters to me, and I use synergies to describe that.
You know, when you say that particular phrasing, it almost sounds like you're practicing your vows.
Get synergized?
No, what you said before that. Granted, if you ever do use that in your vows, it would not surprise me. But when you say, how can I...
Hey, what's up, baby girl? I'd love to get synergized with you for life. I mean, till death do this part.
When you're over here like, how can I service them? How can I honor them? I'm like, are you preparing or something right now? Do we have to have another conversation right now?
No, none of that going on. I just like, yeah, you should do that with your whoever your significant other is, but like it ties to everyone, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Why should you not honor and respect someone just because they're not your significant other? I just don't think that sounds right. It doesn't. That's not how I want to live. Like, I'm not going to romantically love and serve everyone, right? But I am going to care for them. I am going to honor them. I'm going to try and serve them the best I can. And I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I just think that matters so much.
But I think your approach to life is very admirable.
Getting synergized?
Yes.
Yeah, get synergized.
Getting synergized. But I think also like, and I really, there we go.
Yeah,
there's the proper one.
Go.
But I think also that I think it's very, very, I had the word a second ago. What word was I going to use? Admiral. I just used admirable. It's very
synergizing.
It's
synergistic.
It's not. I don't want to use. First of all, synergistic is pushing it. No, I was going to say your approach to yourself I find very inspiring. There's a better word that I'm lacking at the moment. I'll figure it out in 5 hours when it doesn't matter anymore. But
synergizing.
It's not synergizing. I swear to God. I swear to God, there's no SYN in any of my vocabulary. That was a well-timed one.
Synchronized?
No, like another word for inspiring, basically. It's very, but what I'm trying to say, I love your approach to yourself. I really do. I find that I like when my guests help me realize how much I got to grow. Not to make it about myself, but I think that there's a lot to learn from you. And I look forward to doing so.
I appreciate that.
So we can synergize.
Oh, let's go! Yeah!
Right, this conversation's fucking over.
Get synergized! I appreciate that, though. Like, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of just tough things, man. I think our greatest learning lessons are getting punched in the face. But, man, anytime, more than happy to.
Yeah. I think we'll have to call that the end to the Casual Babble Real Talk.
Let's go! Well, BC Babbles, it was a pleasure to be on today with a Casual Babble. It has been my distinguished honor, pleasure, and I am most enthusiastically excited to have an opportunity to get synergized with you. Let's go!
If you're asking, yes, he'll be back on the show. Have a good day.